amazing climate, stunning mountain scenery and world-renowned architecture. MotoGP is landing breathtaking Barcelona for the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalonia. It's round 15 of 22 with the flyway tour of Japan, Indonesia, Australia and Malaysia on the horizon as Marc Marquez looks to set up a match point number one in Misano next weekend. And let battle commence in Barcelona. It's time to race in MotoGP. Good afternoon and welcome back to Barcelona. Welcome back to the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalonia. We've reached chapter 15 of 22 in this year's MotoGP World Championship. A championship which could actually be decided at round 16 next time out. Can you believe that, as Marc Marquez closes in on what would be his 7th MotoGP World Championship, depending on what happens over 24 laps later on this afternoon. In just under 2 hours' time, we'll be lights out at 2 p.m. local time for the MotoGP battle here in Montmello. Well, Marc Marquez could be setting himself up for match point number one at the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli this time next week. That's all coming up right now. We're focusing on what is turning into a very fascinating and very intriguing battle for glory in Moto2 in 2025 as we come into round 15 with 31 points covering our top 3 riders. Manu Gonzalez still leading the way for Dynavolt intact. 25 points clear of Aaron Canet, who's desperately in need of another victory in 2025. Canet winless since round 4 in Qatar, and there is the emerging threat once again of the new Brazilian star Diogo Moreira, victorious at the Red Bull Ring, second in what was an epic last lap battle with David Alonso on our last Grand Prix at the Balaton Park circuit in Hungary. Really has put Moreira firmly back into title contention. Our top 3, though, in the World Championship have got a bit of work to do in what we hope was going to be another cracking 21-lap battle in Moto2 here in Catalonia. Championship leader Manu Gonzalez heads to row 4 in 10th place, 1 spot ahead of Moreira in 11th. Canet is the highest qualifier of our top 3 overall in the standings. He heads row 3 in 7th place. There is Canet on screens. That's all because there's been a fair amount of chopping and changing on this Moto2 grid. Barry Baltus and Albert Arenas, 2 of the worst sufferers of some heavy-handed penalties dished out by the MotoGP stewards. Baltus, the Belgian, 4th in the World Championship. Well, he qualified 5th, but starts 14th. That was 1 place behind Albert Arenas, the home crowd favourite. The former Moto3 World Champion had qualified 4th. He starts 13th. Baltus and Arenas, along with Tony Arbolino, Darren Binder and David Alonso, the brilliant Balaton Park winner last time out, all handed 9-place grid penalties for excessive slow riding in a sector in qualifying. So it's changed up the grid somewhat. On the front row we have a grid headed by the brilliant Danny Holgado, the rookie, shining throughout his home Grand Prix weekend. Of course, he did start on pole position most recently in Austria, having qualified in 2nd place, but this a genuine pole from Holgado, who you have to say has genuine hopes of a maiden first victory in Moto2, just as his Aspar teammate Dan Alonso did in such dramatic style a couple of weeks ago. Jake Dixon and Colin Vire join Holgado on the front row, 2 rookies on the front row. The future of Moto2's in safe hands, isn't it, when you look at the performance right now of Holgado, Vire and most recently Alonso. Matt Burt, Lewis Sinneby in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Really looking forward to this one, Lewis, with our main title contenders, the highest of those, 7th place Aaron Canet. David Alonso having to do so much work coming from the back of the track after his hefty old 9th-place grid penalty. A lot of surprise name contenders maybe for the win. Holgado, Senna Aegis, 6 on the grid, had great race pace. Danny Munoz has been bumped up to 4th on the grid. This, I think, is one of the toughest Moto2 races to call of the season so far. And there have been some very difficult ones to call already. Absolutely loving Moto2 in 2025. File Hungary alongside the likes of Silverstone and Aragon in the catalogue of classics we've seen in this intermediate class this season. And we've already seen first-time winners in the form of Senna Aegis and David Alonso. Can Danny Holgado and
his name to that list this weekend. The evidence that you've seen so far suggests that he's got a very good chance. Hasn't been outside the top 2 in any session so far. He was fastest on Friday morning, fastest on Saturday morning, took pole position, and his race rhythm on Saturday morning also looked very, very good. A tyre management race ahead of us, though, so no foregone conclusions, but Holgado, a genuine pre-race favourite.
Clearly the most experienced head on the front row of the grid is Britain's Jake Dixon. We'll touch upon the Automotive Racing riders' prospects in this Grand Prix coming up very, very shortly. But one rider who's got great race pace, no question, is Aussie Senna Aegis, up to 6th place on the grid. Let's get his thoughts for Jack.
Senna, you've looked really strong on used tyres all weekend. You got the job done in qualifying yesterday. You must be confident for this one.
Yeah, happy to be back. You know, it killed me watching from home in Barcelona, but we're back. We've had a good weekend, steady progress, good step yesterday, and yeah, second row for today. Yeah, feeling confident. It's going to be a long race, always in Barcelona, with the rear tyre especially. So yeah, let's see what we can do. You know, we've worked hard for it, so yeah, I'm excited. That's all we can do now is this race.
Good luck.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Senna Aegis, the 20-year-old city sider. Great to see him back in action, of course. As he mentioned, he missed the Hungarian Grand Prix after that real nasty first lap incident at the Red Bull Ring last month. We just saw then Jake Dixon second on the grid, 22nd front row start in Moto2 for Dixon. We also just saw Colin Vire, who is really starting to get accustomed to life in Moto2, Lewis. Another rookie that has really caught the eye. Brilliant 5th place last time out in Balaton Park, and on the front row for the first time Moto2. Perfect timing because Jack has got the Netherlands rider right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin's been on a great run since the summer break, was right there in the mix in Hungary last time out. Now onto the front row. I bet you're ready to get stuck in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race. Yesterday was already quite decent. Yeah, overall we got front row. Very happy with that, first of all. Enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, today is a completely different story. We have to be trying to keep the tyres alive. I think it's going to be a very long race, but sure, I'll try to be in the mix for the podium. But even if we get into the top 5, top 10, I'm still confident with again the whole weekend.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, he does sound quietly confident, doesn't he, Vi? Let's confirmation on your screens then. 5 riders that got hit with 9-place grid penalties, including Baltas, Arenas, Binder, Alonso, the Balaton Park winner. This was all excessively slow sectors in qualifying. That quintet, all second offences. Certainly you feel mega costly as far as Arenas and Baltas are concerned. They were initially starting 4th and 5th place on the grid. Here is Baltas then, who now finds himself stuck down in 14th spot. Last time out, Balaton, 12th place, only the 3rd time this year. He's finished outside the top 10, the 21-year-old, and he's given himself a bit of a mountain to climb this afternoon, Lewis.
Yeah, although the other riders who picked up those penalties even further back, we're wondering where David Alonso's been shuffled all the way back to on the grid. He's 25th on the grid, qualified in a 16th place. It has not been as particularly stellar a weekend for Alonso as it was in Hungary. Tony Arbolino and Darren Binder starting right at the back, but we can now move to the front row of the grid and hear from Jake Dixon, who joins Jack.
Yeah, Jake, really fast in Hungary last time out. Onto the front row again. This looks like it's going to be a tricky one for everyone to manage. How ready do you feel? Don't start again.
You still make me laugh every time I see you. No, honestly, I'm feeling good. The track conditions are so different today. It's so humid. It's not been like this all weekend. So honestly, I think it's going to be a matter of managing the tyres. It's going to be not who's there at the beginning, but who's there at the end, and who's basically the biggest tyre whisperer today. So hopefully I can be in that fight. I'll be giving it everything and seeing what I can do.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. There's a bit of a recurring theme, isn't there, right now, with those riders that have spoken to Jack, Jake Dixon, Colin Vire and Senna Aegis. They've all said this is going to be a long, long race over 21 laps. It's all going to be about who can manage the grip at best towards the end of the Grand Prix. 25th on the grid for David Alonso. He's still got so much to smile about. He's such a likeable character, isn't he, the Colombian? What a performance. What a fight back through the field it was last time out in Hungary to win that last lap thriller. Just referencing those penalties as well for Baltas, Arbolino, Binder, Arenas and Alonso. There were 15 other riders that were also given official warnings by the FIM stewards for excessive slow sectors in qualifying. So 15 other riders on notice from Simon Crafar.
There's only 29 on the grid, so a good 2/3 of the grid found themselves on the wrong side of the stewards yesterday. Here's Regis, who we've just heard from on the grid. So good to see him back in action, particularly given the nature of the crash that he had on the first lap and the subsequent contact with Alonso Lopez in Austria. A bang to the head, but also some pain in his hand, which he may well have to manage in this Catalan Grand Prix. Remember last year he was nearly on the podium, of course, had a long lap penalty which cost him a podium. He's got genuine podium pace today.
We should mention, as he continues to deputise for the absent Dennis Onju, a brilliant performance by Dani Munoz, who qualified in 6th place, and with the penalties for Arenas and Baltas ahead of him, he started his Grand Prix in 4th spot. Career best qualifying for the 19-year-old, who's showing just why Nicky Ayo felt he was the man to step in and replace Onju while he continues to recover from a serious injury.
Yeah, there are very strong rumours that he's going to be a full-time Moto2 rider next season. The reports linking him with a place at Italtrans, likely to take the place of Diogo Moreira, who we're strongly expecting to go up into MotoGP next year with LCR. You just saw Ayumu Sasaki starting higher for a Moto2 Grand Prix than he ever has before. He starts from the middle of row 3 in 8th place, and of course has got championship front runners surrounding him on the grid.
He's qualified top 10 in the last 2 Grand Prix now as the 24-year-old Japanese rider. Middle of that second row, just for your reference, we saw him on screens talking to our Austrian TV colleagues. Alex Hoffman was Philip Salac. So he starts directly behind his Alpha Vidas Racing teammate Dixon on that second row. Manu Gonzalez has a lot of work to do, doesn't he, from 10th place on the grid. Wary alongside him as well is one of his fiercest title rivals, Moreira, in 11th. It's going to be really interesting to see how Gonzalez and Moreira tackle the early part of this Grand Prix, because they're going to have to attack, they're going to have to be aggressive early on. How much will they take out of their Pironi rubber to get through to the front? That will be a big factor. It always is a key factor at play here in Barcelona. As Jake Dixon mentioned, it's so humid down there on the grid with this heavy cloud cover. Tyre wear is going to be so pivotal.
This rider proved it last year. Alonso Lopez, who plummeted down the order in the second half of the race. He was going 5 seconds a lap slower at the end of the race than he was at the beginning of it. Lopez crashed in qualifying both of the Speed RS riders, actually. Both Alonso Lopez and Celestino Vietti went down in Q2. They start 9th and 15th, respectively.
5 podiums in the last 7 Grand Prix. That's the reason why we're starting to factor in Moreira as a genuine title contender once again. There were the big blips, weren't there, in the Sachsenring and then in Brno, but since our return from the summer break, he has been superb. Moreira, a victory at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, pole position in Hungary, and second late heartache for him after David Alonso's stunning late charge at the Balaton Park circuit. But here's your front row then for the upcoming 21-lap Moto2 battle here in Catalunya. Colin Vire for Red Bull KTM Ayo fires away from his first Moto2 front row. Jake Dixon, a former winner here from pole position in Catalunya. That was 2 years ago in 2023. But can Aspar continue their purple patch in this year's Moto2 World Championship? Winners last time out with David Alonso. And for the first time in qualifying yesterday, Dani Holgado starts from pole position in Moto2.
Well, Moto2 delivered in spades in Hungary a couple of weeks ago. Is it going to do the same here? Dani Holgado from a first official Moto2 pole ahead of Jake Dixon and Colin Vire. Front row for him for the first time. It's a 3-4 on the grid for the Ayo squad, with a career best 4th for Dani Munoz. Philip Salac 5th, Center Regis back from injury 6th. Aaron Canet, first championship front runner 7th, ahead of Ayumu Sasaki, who starts higher than ever before in 8th. Alonso Lopez 9th after a crash in Q2. Gonzalez and Moreira together on row 4, joined by Ethan Guevara. Albert Arenas and Barry Baltas both booted 9 places back down the grid, having qualified 4th and 5th. Vietti, Ortola, Robertson and Screech next up from Marcos Ramirez, Zonta van den Gorberg and Mario Anchi, who makes his return from injury. Huertas, Aradri and Cooney on the 8th row. David Alonso, if he's going to take back-to-back wins, he has to come from 25th. Eric Fernandez and Jorge Navarro next up ahead of Tony Arbolino and Darren Binder. Their 9-place grid penalties drop them all the way to the back.
So can 20-year-old Dani Holgado become our 63rd different rider to win in Moto2. There he is on the 27 bike. He has been in sparkling form all weekend, the 20-year-old. Really, you have to say, he is the pre-race favourite going into this 21-lap tussle. Jake Dixon on the front row of the grid. He's winless since round 3 at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. There's only one podium since then for the Brit. That third place from pole at the Saxon Ring. Bit of a long shot, you feel, for Dixon in terms of the championship now. 72 points back of Gonzalez. That's where we stand in terms of the title race. Gonzalez, 204 points, 25 clear than he is of Canet. Barry Balters is just starting to lose a bit of touch at the top of the championship. 57 points back now in 4th place. We've talked then about this being a time management tussle. We know it's going to be a long old 21 laps here in Catalunya. What are the riders thinking tyre choice-wise, Lewis?
It's quite interesting. There's no point telling you what rear tyre they're all on, because everyone's gone for the same option. It's on the front tyre where it's interesting. The bulk of the riders have gone for the soft front tyre, the SC1. Danny Holgado, the key runner, who has gone the other way, he's gone for the medium front tyre. Holgado said on Friday when he ran the soft front tyre, he went through that front tyre in 5 laps. He then ran the medium and went very well on it on Saturday morning. Holgado and Selach, the 2 key runners on the front 5 rows of the grid, who have gone for the medium front tyre.
Yeah, 2 of the hardest breakers, aren't they, in Moto2, Holgado and Selach, so maybe just looking for that extra support, that extra stability, certainly in straight up and down braking. You do a lot of that here in Catalunya, the most severe of those hard braking points on that long sweep down into turn 1. So here is Holgado, not a new experience this in Moto2. He did lead the field away at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, but this is his first genuine pole position in the Moto2 World Championship. He surprised a few people already in 2025, myself included here in the commentary box. Has Holgado points in his last 6 Grand Prix. That includes 4 top 10s and a podium from that pole position in Austria. Jake Dixon, he knows what it takes to win around this Barcelona circuit. He did so in some style back in 2023. Packed grandstands then, full of expectation, full of anticipation ahead of Chapter 15 in Moto2 in 2025. Green flag has cleared at the back. It's lights out, we're racing in Moto2 here in Catalunya. It's a really good launch away from that pole position by Holgado. He's hotly pursued by Dixon. Selach has been strung away from the 2nd row and 5th. He's already up into 3rd place on the number 12 bike. Guevara are running a real tight inside line for Pramac Yamaha on the inside there. As Dixon, as Selach who gets checked up in that first corner.
Canet getting high out to dry on the outside of Tom. Gonzalez is already up into 3rd place, believe it or not, from way down in the grid. His teammate Senaragius, though, had a bit of a shocker off the line. He's back to 9th.
Yeah, there was 2 brilliant starts in the 4th row of the grid. Gonzalez from 10th to 3rd, Guevara from 12th to 4th.
Oh, Canet into Selach, I think that was.
Yeah, Selach has had a shocker. He made the dream launch from 5th place on the grid. Oh, there's drama further back down the order as well. Somebody goes barrel rolling through the gravel trap.
I think it was the RW bike. Might have been Van Gorbo. Sasaki, his teammate, who went down. Surprised he was that far back down the field, given where he started. But he is out of the race. Holgado then with a clear lead from Jake Dixon. Jake Dixon's very good friend, though, Yumi Sasaki, a casualty on lap 1.
Yeah, that looked like a nasty one as well for Sasaki going through turn 4, didn't it? After a great start, it's been a nightmare first lap for Selach as we saw him get punted wide, then going through turn 4. Selach, we could clearly see, was in the gravel as Holgado's getting on with this early on here, isn't he? Already over 0.6 of a second cleared through sector 3 on lap 1 ahead of Dixon. Brilliant starts by the 2 Spaniards we're looking at right now on the screens. Gonzalez from 10th to 3rd, Guevara from 12th to 4th, as he mentioned. Those 2 nailed the getaway from that row 4. What about Moreira, who was sandwiched in between the pair of them? At the moment, he's 12th. He did not get away, as well as the 2 Spaniards alongside him.
Sincerely hope that Ethan Guevara didn't jump the start. He has twice already this season. Certainly no indication that he has this time, because he is so good up the line and he looks like he wants to get himself into the podium positions here ahead of Manu Gonzalez. We always know that Boscascuro, an absolute rocket with Guevara on top of it, and he just breezes past Gonzalez and into the podium positions.
Pretty strong first lap as well for Lopez there. He's currently running in 5th place on the big pressure from Danny Munoz on the Red Bull KTM machine. In fact, Lopez on that wide line, as we often see on the Boscascuro Sati, too wide as far as he was concerned, because Munoz just picked the inside line and swept up on through into 5th spot. Lopez, though, was strong on that first lap, up from 9th.
It's a centre Aegis, another big loser. He was just poor off the line, just a really slow getaway from Aegis. That's why he's back behind Moreira in 13th, though I think he's just got past him, as we now see Celestino Vietti getting aggressive through on Arenas, who has made up some of the damage from his 9th place group penalty. He's gained 4 places.
The start that Moreira was looking for at all. He has just moved up into 11th place ahead of Auto. He's now directly behind one of his title rivals, Canet. So our top 3 in the World Championship, it's Gonzalez who's had the strongest, although he's been picked up, hasn't he, here by Guevara, and now it's getting worse here because Munoz goes on the inside of Gonzalez on the brakes into turn 10. So Gonzalez started this lap 2 in 3rd. He's been picked up very, very quickly by both Guevara and now Munoz.
It's all going off behind them with Vietti and Arenas. They were swapping places twice through turns 10 and 11. They're holding each other up, though, and losing ground to the group ahead. And crucially, the group that they're in involves Canet and Moreira, that are in danger of getting detached from their chief championship rival, Gonzalez.
At the moment, the gap between Dixon and Holgado as they exchange fastest laps of this Grand Prix was just over half a second. Munoz now trying to pick up some slipstream. So too is Lopez behind Gonzalez. Well, Manu Gonzalez, who had that sensational first lap, is going further back. Oh, here's a twitch there. Twitch on the front end of that Calex did Gonzalez. He just about does hold off Lopez as now they charge through the long sweeping right-hander of 3. Gonzalez on a slightly wider line, just drops across the nose of Lopez.
Extraordinary that from Munoz, because he wasn't exactly right on the back of Guevara, was he, when he passed Gonzalez? Just jumped straight across the gap as Canet once again attacking into turn 4, and again he sends a rider way out to the outside. It was Salach on the first lap, and this time it was Celestino Vietti.
You don't run outside of Canet, go get a turn 4 in this Grand Prix, do you? Because he's not scared to sharpen the old elbows, as the Spanish rider. There he is on the 44 bike. So that aggressive move that now has nudged, quite literally nudged Canet up into 7th.
Yeah, it did also promote Moreira up a place because it cost Vietti so much ground. He's now 13th behind Aegis, who's got pace to be much higher up the field than 12th. He'll be hoping that his advantage late in the race on worn tyres will start to come into play. Still, an awful long way to go.
Via from his first front row start in Moto2 is currently in 7th place. Next concern for him will be the aggressive Canet, who's starting to charge already towards the Netherlands teenager. David Alonso has just got himself up in the points, going place for the first time. He's just taken 15th from Roberts, our Brno Grand Prix winner.
Keep an eye on Munoz's lap time here. He's closing in a little bit on the top 2 on this lap. Dixon's slightly closer to Holgado, but Munoz is catching Dixon as Holgado does a 42.9, a 42.3. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Danny Munoz, putting the Super in Super Sub.
Just look how much daylight he's been able to put between himself, Guevara, Gonzalez and Lopez. 3 riders who he picked off with minimal effort, didn't he? He made it look so easy, Munoz. What an early charge he's putting together right now. A 42.3 on that last lap. That was pretty much 0.6 of a second faster than both Holgado and Dixon.
The key for Munoz is not to take too much out of his tyres at this early stage and fall back through the field later on. We're looking at Alonso Lopez and Manny Gonzalez. It's a bit like a fly he's trying to swat away. He just cannot shake off the 21 Boscascoro of Lopez here.
Fair play to Philip Salach, who just got his head down and getting on with business after being run off the track on lap 1 by Canet into turn 4. Salach is doing low 143s.
So look at the incident here, it's turn 4. It's the battle for 6th and 7th up the inside there. And Canet just, it's the kind of thing that just can easily happen on the first lap of the race. Canet has been told on our timing screens to drop 2 positions. I suspect that's for a combination of moves. Of course, this one and also the move on Celestino Vietti a couple of laps later.
So they're throwing the book, aren't they? The F1 MotoGP stewards at Canet. At the moment, he's in 8th place. Back with the league group, that was Sasaki rather. His early get off at turn 4. That was a nasty old one, wasn't it, for the Japanese rider? And that's successive DNFs now for Sasaki from successive top 10 grid positions. Yellow flags out now once again in the 3rd and 4th sector.
Look at the gap again that Munoz has taken out of Dixon. He started this lap 7/10 behind the 96. He's now right behind him. A 42.4 for Munoz. He's half a second quicker than anyone else on track.
Well, he was 0.6 quicker than Holgard on the previous lap. On that last lap, half a second. I mean, this is just astonishing pace right now for Munoz. Look at him. He just closes right in on the rear tyre of Dixon's Boscascora. Surely he's going to be making light work of the Brit just ahead of him. Guevara Guevara at the moment then in a rather lonely fourth place. He's 1.5 seconds back now of this podium battle. He's just about 4/10 clear of Gonzalez in fifth. They've been really detached by this top trio.
Yes, I've not seen any evidence yet of Canet dropping those 2 positions. He's still in 8th. Of course, the 2 positions he'll now drop include the position to Diogo Moreira, one of his championship rivals. They're in 8th and 9th. I just saw Moreira at the front of that train further back, so Canet has dropped those places now.
So there is Holgado as he powers through turn 6, left-hander now, the tight turn 7, and you start climbing up towards the grandstand section, the stadium section of this Barcelona circuit. The one to watch clearly is Munoz in 3rd place. It has been a stunning early charge, hasn't it, from the rider on the number 17 machine. No wonder that he's being picked up for a full-time ride in 2026 by Italtrans Racing.
Remember, he's only here because Denis Onchu broke his leg earlier on in the weekend. Celestino Vietti has dropped down the order, so I think we've lost one of the Speed RS Boscoscuros. Vietti did have some good news yesterday, confirmed at that team for next season, but it looks like his Grand Prix has ended on lap 5.
Looking at Gonzalez then, as he drops down through turn 13, he'll flick it right now through the final corner of 14. As it stands right now, he'll be taking 5 points out of Canet in the championship chase. Here comes Munoz. He goes side by side there now with Dixon into the braking zone for the first corner. Dixon's got the inside line. Munoz bravely, he darts to the inside now. Munoz, is he going to get that stopped? He is, you know.
This is
oh,
amazing.
that's unbelievable by Munoz. He would have had his heart in his mouth for a second there. Looked like he was going to try and dart to the outside initially on Dixon, and then he just swept to the inside line and picked off Dixon into 1. He's up in the 2nd. Game on for the win.
Yeah, talk about changing and immediately switching to plan B. Oh, the outside's not going to work out, but no problem, I'll try the inside then. Straight up the inside of Jake Dixon, and look at the meters he's already put in to that Boscoscuro. I said it earlier on, talk about a super sub. Danny Munoz, I don't think Danny Holgado, when he sees on his pit board in a moment's time, the 27, that it's plus 0.5 to Munoz. I'm not sure he'll quite believe. He'll think he's back in Moto2 again.
That bike he's on is already a 2-time Grand Prix winner this year in Aragon and in the Saxon Ring. Could it be the hat-trick from the most unlikeliest of sources? What must be going through the mind of Denis Onju right now as he sits at home watching his motorcycle in the hunt for the victory here in Barcelona. Further back there behind this top 3, we pick up Guevara there on the 28 bike. He's in 4th place. This is through the tight left-hander of 10 all the way back down to 2nd gear. Now they start clicking back up through the gearbox. Briefly up into 3rd, now 2nd through turn 12. We're on board with Manu Gonzalez, the World Championship leader.
Gonzalez will be relieved on this lap. He's put a little bit of distance between himself and Lopez, who was certainly giving him plenty of problems in the first 4 laps. There's now half a second of a gap behind us. We're right on board with Gonzalez, who's now thinking more about defending than into attack, and attacking the Boscoscuro of Guevara. We've got Boscoscuro's 3rd and 4th at the moment, but not for too much longer.
2 laps ago, it was 6/10 of a second Munoz took out of Holgado as Gonzalez goes on the inside of Guevara then now. Is he going to make that work? No, he's not. He just charging that a little bit too hot, and Guevara just keeping his normal racing line, swings back around the outside of his fellow Spaniard through 2. 6/10 for Munoz was faster than Holgado 2 laps ago. On the previous lap, it was half a second. On that last lap now, he took another 4/10 out of Holgado. The only rider currently out on circuit in the 42s right now is Munoz. Holgado has got some serious trouble brewing here in Barcelona.
Just something for you to be aware of at home. Celestino Vietti would appear to have some sort of transponder issue, because I just saw him in that 2nd group. He is still ready. He came across the line in 9th place, but he's then tumbled down the leaderboard again. So Celestino Vietti, despite what you can see on the right-hand side of your screens, he is still there.
One critical factor at play here, and how crucial could it be? We know that Holgado is on that medium front tyre, which if it pans out as we expect, it will clearly give him some opportunity or some advantage towards the tail end of this Grand Prix, when the tyre wear is really starting to become a pivotal role in this Grand Prix. So Gonzalez had a little bit of a pop at Guevara at the first corner on this lap 7 of 21. 3rd race distance completed, but it was an aborted mission as far as the World Championship leader was concerned. At the moment, though, he's not really being put under any kind of pressure in terms of the championship chase by both Canet and Moreira, who are at the back end of the top 10.
Yes, it's a tough line work out looking at this group. So Vietti's ahead of this lot. He's 8th. Then it's Ortola 9th, and Canet it says 9th on your screens. He is actually 10th on the road because Vietti's clearly got some sort of problem with his transponder. There you see him, look, he just bounces back into picture. Canet is running 10th.
And he's riding the 42s, yes, guess what it is? Munoz once again. His pace at this stage of the race is just on another level. Holgado is trying to respond. Holgado was a whisker away from getting back into the 42s himself. He's just keeping that gap at the front to nearly 3.5 tenths of a second. This is some battle, isn't it, raging further down the order. Fair play to Ivan Ortola because he's got himself ahead of Canet, Moreira and Aegis. David Alonso is charging back in towards top 10 contention. Did we ever doubt that he would do? The hard-charging Colombian from 25th on the grid. Alonso now up to 12th.
Yeah, right behind him is Baltus running in 14th place, so he's pretty much where he started. In fact, he's exactly where he started after taking the 9th place grid penalty yesterday. Crucial championship points up for grabs here in this group. Canet and Moreira together, and as it stands, both are losing a chunk of points to Manu Gonzalez.
Yeah, Moreira's got Aegis all over his rear tyre. He's got Alonso also coming back into the reckoning with a fully functioning transponder at the moment. We've just seen Celestino Vietti set his best lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:43.107. So he's now registering in 8th place. You don't see him on the timing on the left-hand side of the screen. We can see him on our timing monitors, and he is in 8th spot.
Yeah, he's only registering when he comes across the line, so you'll see his name reappear very shortly. Here's Alonso then from 25th up to 12th. He was nowhere on Friday, David Alonso, really struggling to understand the best lines to adopt around this circuit on a Moto2 bike, which he says surprisingly doesn't suit his style, which certainly surprised me given that he was undefeated here in Moto3, but he is a very fast learner and there's still a top 10 certainly possible for the Colombian.
Joe Roberts has just moved himself back into point scoring place with a move on Arenas further back down the order. Arenas really is paying for his 9th place grid penalty, 4th down to 13th, and he's just gone backwards in this Grand Prix. Here is your race leader, Holgado. Yellow flags are out in the 1st sector. Philip Salac
and Navarro.
Salac, who had a nightmare here on lap 1 when he was contacted by Canet. Turn 2, then Salac not able to capitalise on what was a real strong 5th place on the grid for the Czech rider. The Czech rider checked out, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was just ahead of Navarro when they started that lap. Both have gone down together, so perhaps for the contactors taken Salac out. His contact they're put in right back there in the 1st place. Look, not on his side today.
There's a big couple of laps coming in here as far as Holgado's concerned. For the first time in about 4 or 5 laps, he was actually quicker than Munoz behind him, which saw his lead extend to just over half a second as we moved on to lap 9 of 21. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Holgado is just starting to stretch his lead now. He's found another 3 tenths already, 3/4 of the way around this lap 9. Over the line, actually, this is a bit concerning, isn't it? Is that Salac who's being stretched away? Should try and fight.
Yeah, it's Navarro who's just lost it. He's not trying to overtake Salac there and just straight into the back of Philip Salac. Painful landing for both of them in that incident. Not one that we want to see again.
Yeah, that was a pretty horrible view, and that was as far as Philip Salac is concerned. See there, the visor getting ripped off of his helmet as his motorcycle made contact. Let's just hope that Philip Salac is going to be okay after that nasty looking incident there at turn 2. Back at the front then, yeah, it was a big lap, that lap 9 from Holgado. He is responding. Well, I don't say he's responding because he sort of held his pace around the low 143s. It's just the fact that Munoz, all of a sudden, his pace is slackening off. You just wonder, at that sort of 4 or 5 lap spurt of 142s, has he already taken a lot out of his rubber underneath him, because he was 3 tenths slower than Holgado on that last lap. The gap's crept up to 8.5 tenths. In fact, now it's over a second. First time in this Grand Prix, Holgado's lead is over a second. He's gained another 10th already in sector 2. Yeah, that blitz from Munoz could be costly in the second half of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, still a long way to go. We're only just coming up to half race distance now on lap 10 of 21. I mean, Munoz's pace isn't exactly slow. He's still quicker than Guevara, Gonzalez, Lopez, Vaya and Ortola. Vietti's the only other rider in the top 10 who's quicker than him, along with Dixon, but there's only a 10th of a second in it. So it's not like Munoz is going slow. It's just that Danny Holgado just has a level of pace that seemingly no one can match here today.
Yeah, it's the outright pace, it's the consistency as well of Holgado. He's been barely out of those low 143s And once again, he's found another 10th in Sector 3. Sonor Aegis has just been given a track limits warning as he's in the thick of that real heated battle involving the likes of Canet, Moreira, Alonso. Baltas not too further back as well.
On board then with Manu Gonzalez. It's Boscoscuro. It's so hard to outbrake Ethan Guevara. Look at it. As he breaks into turn 1, Guevara just pulls out 4 or 5 metres over him, and that's enough to keep the Boscoscuro ahead. And also, as we've seen through the speed traps, Guevara is just so fast on that Boscoscuro in a straight line, and the frustration building here for Manu Gonzalez, you just can't get past it.
Well, that's the best possible news. Salach is going to the medical centre for a checkup. He is reported conscious by our medical team here in Barcelona, because that was a real nasty incident, wasn't it? For the 23-year-old Czech rider.
Gonzalez is through now. Guevara did go a little wide there into turn 4, opened the door, and now we'll see what kind of pace Manu Gonzalez still has in this second half of this Grand Prix. Now he's finding clear of the 28.
Do you know what? This is looking over already before we're just in the second half of this Grand Prix, because Holgado once again now halfway around this lap 11. He's now 1.6 seconds clear Munoz, and Jake Dixon now is starting to close in on Munoz as well, ahead of him in that battle for second. Dixon has found a couple of 10ths already on this current lap as well, so yeah, it looks like Munoz is hitting a bit of tyre wear issues.
How far can Gonzalez still get in this Grand Prix? He's going to have to be good in this final sector, because the fear I have for him from here is that Guevara might just blitz past him again on the main straight. Gonzalez has to be so smooth and so clean through these final 2 corners. Turns 13, the Catalunya corner, turn 14, and if he can get to the end of this main straight ahead of Guevara, he should be clear.
Having worked his way through from 25th, Alonso's been stuck in 12th for about 2 or 3 laps now. Guevara trying to pick up some slipstream then behind Gonzalez. He lost that 4th place on the last lap. De Guevara, he's trying to take it back though right now. We know how good he is on the brakes into the first corner. That's brilliant by Guevara. He set that move up with such good exit drive coming out of turn 14. And Gonzalez is making... He's having to work hard, isn't he, for this 4th spot?
Steam coming out of Manu's ears at this stage. He was doing 43.7s on that last lap trying to pass Guevara, so he didn't in the end get that clean lap ahead of the Boscoscuro. Look at Keno, just how he pulls clear. Has he got a little bit too hot? The answer is no. So Gonzalez, his patience continues to be tested.
We've lost Mario Aggi on his return to action for a Honda Team Asia. The 64's gone down the road at turn number 1. Aggi was running down in 25th place. We're getting information on our screens that actually Yuki Cooney was the rider that crashed out. So yeah, it's actually his teammate, it's Aggi's teammate Cooney that's gone down.
There is the aforementioned walking away from the scene of the crime. To be fair to Munoz, he sort of stabilised his pace a little bit on that last lap. He is still lapping in the 43s and just keeping Dixon that sort of half-second arm's length behind him. So Munoz not completely plummeting out of the order. We're getting information there on our screens that Aaron Canet has crashed out of the Grand Prix. Haven't seen Canet on our screens dropping down. He is dropping down the timing screens. Have we lost the rider? Second in the World Championship.
Oh, dear,
yes, we have.
Now then, that's massive. That is a huge moment in this year's Moto2 World Championship as Aaron Canet goes barrel rolling through the gravel trap. Fantic Racing looking frustrated because with Manu Gonzalez at the moment potentially picking up 13 points of 4th place. Well, this could be a real damaging day as far as Canet's title aspirations are concerned. Some battle this, isn't it, between Guevara and Gonzalez. Oh, there's almost contact between the two of them on that long one down into the first corner.
Yeah, so it's still 11 points for Gonzalez if he can't pass Guevara for 5th place. And we now have to turn our attention to where Moreira is. And the problem for Diogo Moreira is he's doing 45s as he shredded his tyres, because he's just dropped back to 13th place. This could be a big day for Manu Gonzalez. It's not just Canet who's scoring nothing. Diogo Moreira might be scoring nothing too.
Yeah, we expected to see big deviations in lap times in this Grand Prix as the lack of grip and high tyre wear became prominent. Daniel Munoz, his best lap in this race is a 1:42.3. He's 1.3 seconds slower than that at the moment. So the pace really is already dropping off quite considerably. No dramas though at the moment for Holgado, who is your runaway race leader here. This he's threatened pretty much since the opening practice session on Friday. Set his stall out brilliantly on Friday morning when he led the opening practice session, not outside the top two at any stage so far this weekend. It's not looking likely to be something that happens to Holgado here on the most important day of the weekend, as we start to get a bit of sunshine poking through the cloud cover. The sun is certainly shining right now on Holgado and Munoz.
Yeah, unless Munoz's tyres and grip levels completely fall off a cliff, he's got a relatively safe podium here, even if he loses that second place to Dixon, because Guevara, of course, so preoccupied battling Gonzalez. As much as they're entertaining us, they're now the best part of 3 seconds further back down the road. They're all exchanging 43.8 in that top three, but the rest of the field, with the exception of Vietti back in 8th, are in the 44s.
Yeah, Vietti's got a good pace. Once again, Gonzalez is just not able to outfox and outfight Guevara on the braking zone, is he? Down into the first corner. Sick of the sights at the back of that Bosco score right now, isn't he? Manu Gonzalez. You can just see, look how much movement there was on the body there of Guevara as he was chasing grip on the right-hand side of that tyre, going through turn 3. Now we go through turn 4, to where we lost the Yumi Sasaki on the opening lap with a rather nasty crash.
Yeah, of course, Guevara was injured in a crash on the Friday in Austria, which certainly didn't leave him with the best sort of tools to fight with in Hungary last time around. Of course, once he jumped the start with his long lap penalties, he parked it to save his body. Much more closer to peak physical condition now is Ethan Guevara, and he's showing us exactly what he's all about on board that Blue Crew Pramac Boscoscuro. His teammate Tony Arbolino, for reference, he's 20 seconds behind in 21st.
Just looking further down, Baltus, Aegis and Moreira in that mid-pack battle. They've all got track limits warnings. So too has Gonzalez there in 5th place. There is Celestino Vietti. He's going on the inside with a classic block pass on Via there. That's pushed Vietti then up into 7th.
Senna Aegis has not heeded that track limits warning. He's now got a long lap penalty. That's going to drop him somewhere near to 15th place Marcos Ramirez. I have to say, given his pace earlier on in the weekend, was not expecting Senna Aegis to be way down there, but poor start and now a long lap penalty has put paid to his top 10 hopes.
Over the line we go. Holgado then now 1.7 clear of Munoz. Munoz and Holgado now with Vietti, the only riders, Alonso rather, in the 43s. Jake Dixon just lost a bit of touch on that last lap. Back into the 44s is the Brit. He's got a massive gap there, nearly 3 seconds back to this battle, Guevara versus Gonzalez, which has been a story. Well, they started alongside each other, didn't they, on the 4th row of the grid, and they've been locked together since it was lights out in this battle.
There is one other rider who's in the 143s, and it's a rider that we should now be paying very close attention to in the closest stage of the Grand Prix. It's David Alonso, who came all the way from the mid-20s on the grid. He's also in the 143s. He's now ahead of Baltus, ahead of Aegis, and right behind Ortola.
See Guevara there, he was lighting up that Pirelli rear tyre as he was on the gas coming out of turn 4. Defending quite superbly here, though, isn't he, Guevara? Manu Gonzalez doesn't tend to wait too long behind competition when he's got on your rear tyre. They did see him briefly get through, didn't we, 4 or 5 laps ago on Guevara. But the former Moto2 world champion having one of his better rides so far in 2025. You can just see Munoz and Dixon ahead as they power through this tight left-hander. Turn 10 into the stadium section we go, and Holgado clearly has now broken Munoz and Dixon. Holgado has taken half a second out of Munoz on this lap 15. First time in this Grand Prix, Holgado 2 seconds clear of the pursuing pack.
Well, they might be missing from the timing screens for much of this race, but Celestino Vietti is actually having quite the Grand Prix at the moment. He recently passed Via. He's now passed his teammate too, Alonso Lopez. We're now, I think, going to see that move. You can see the 2 Beta Tools sponsored Boscoscuros, 13 passes 21. That puts Celestino Vietti into the top 6 now.
He's had to do a lot of work to get there, hasn't he, as well, coming from 15th place on the grid. Once again, Gonzalez. Yeah, that's just a desperate lunge, that. He's just trying here to disturb Guevara's rhythm, isn't he? But once again, that's the second time he's come from a long, long way back on Guevara into the first corner, and Guevara knows, well, if you're out breaking me here, mate, in the first corner, there's no way you're stopping it. So Guevara just cuts to the inside line and holds that 4th place. Aaron Canet also on his way to the medical centre, but what we hope is going to be a precautionary check-up, of course. 8 Grand Prix in 11 weeks to round out 2025. An injury at this stage of the season when you're in title contention, well, it would be a massive, massive blow. Next weekend we're racing again in Misano. Let's hope Aaron Canet is going to be a-OK for that battle.
So it's right on board with Gonzalez. I'm interested to see what kind of lap time Vietti does on this lap. Now that he's cleared some of that traffic, could Gonzalez's problems be about to build? He still can't fix the puzzle known as Ifan Guevara, and is Celestino Vietti potentially in a position to chase them down in the final 5 laps? Tony Arbolino, who's had a poor weekend, did at least say on Friday that he felt that the Boscoscuro was better on its tyres than the Calex. We've got Dixon running 3rd, Guevara running 4th, and of course Vietti and Lopez 6th and 7th.
This has been some battle, hasn't it, between Guevara and Gonzalez. He's checked out at the front of this Grand Prix, make no mistake about that. Of course, he took his first Moto2 podium in Austria very, very recently. That's a class best finish for Holgado. He's going to go one better here, surely. Surely, this is just now a test of his focus, a test of his concentration, managing those wearing Pirelli tyres underneath him. He starts lap 16 of 21, lap 17 of 21, 2.5 seconds clears once again. Gonzalez goes through on Guevara, and finally, this time around, 3rd time lucky, Gonzalez has made it stick.
Well, we'll let him get to turn 1 on the next lap first before we celebrate a 4th place to Manu Gonzalez. Do you remember Guevara was able to stick with Gonzalez last time and just blitz back past him on the main straight. Gonzalez now needs to put in a qualifying style lap here on this 17th lap of 21 to put as much distance as he can between himself and the 28.
You see how much Guevara was pushing on the front end of that Boscoscuro machine as he flung it left through turn 4. Now we go through 5. Lopez has got a track this forward. I'll tell you what, flirting with the green there on the outside of 5 was Guevara as he looked on board from Gonzalez's Calex chassis.
So 4.5 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. Munoz still keeping that half-second advantage over Dixon, who just can't get any closer at this stage. Is he still saving something for a late attack? We now make our way into turn 10. And I'm not sure Manu Gonzalez has got this 4th place under control just yet.
Yeah, can Guevara get the better of him on the run down into that first corner once again? Gonzalez is just going to look for a clean, smooth, picture-perfect last couple of corners here, just to make sure that Guevara can't pick up any slipstream directly behind him. He might be done. You can see how hard he's trying. He was lighting up that rear tyre, wasn't he, going through 13 there, Gonzalez. He's got, what, about half a dozen bike lengths now between the pair of them as they charge down the 1,047-metre start-finish straight. Holgado at the moment in cruise control, 2.6 seconds clear of Munoz.
They look very close, I have to say, Gonzalez and Guevara. I hope we pick them up into turn 1. We're not watching that battle, unfortunately. We're watching the battle for 2nd place. We'll try and track them through the first sector on this lap. Gonzalez on the 18, Guevara on the 28. Gonzalez has stayed ahead.
Yeah, and is that all she wrote then as far as Guevara is concerned? He's almost a couple of tenths behind Gonzalez at the moment. Dixon then, can he get his teeth into Munoz late on? Vastly different experience levels in Moto2, aren't there, between these two? This is just Munoz's 15th start in Grand Prix. Jake Dixon's 119th, his 117th in Moto2. And that gap is coming down, isn't it? Dixon is now exactly 0.3 of a second behind Munoz in this battle for 2nd.
Of course, Munoz knows this circuit so well. He's a regular in the European Moto2 Championship, which does race here. But if you'd have offered him a podium before he came to this Grand Prix this weekend, he would have bitten your arm off. Jake Dixon, of course, has, I guess, found podiums a little bit harder to come by in recent times. Just had that sultry podium at the Sachsenring since his last victory back in Austin. This will be a big result for the 96.
Munoz was close to track limits there on the edge of turn 9, wasn't he? Almost dropped his rear tyre off the edge of the curb. Dixon has just been told here the clear message that he's got a massive gap of over 3 seconds back to Gonzalez. Out of the final corner, Munoz and Dixon power. Holgado's long gone. Danny Holgado's doing low 144s. He's 0.6 quicker than Munoz in 2nd place. He's now over 3 seconds clear of anybody else on this Barcelona circuit.
just saw Gonzalez in the background taking a bit of a defensive line down to turn one. He's so desperate to stop Guevara coming back past him. I mean, worked so hard to get himself in that position. Gonzalez is in the mid-44s. He's trying to break through Guevara. Vietti not showing any real signs yet of closing in, and he's running fast out of time to get into that battle. Vietti set for a rather lonely sixth.
Bit of a dent in Moreira's championship challenge as well here today. He just got picked up for 12th on that last lap by Roberts, of course the Renault Grand Prix winner. I don't think too many people would have expected, after his brilliant performances in Austria and Hungary over the last couple of rounds, for Moreira to be struggling down towards the back end of the point scoring place. That's where he finds himself right now, though. Just 3 points in the offing for the Brazilian.
Not even that chase group that we're looking at in the back of the picture, which features Lopez Vaya, Alonso and Ortola. They're battling for what will be 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, of course, with Vietti's not appearing on the left-hand side of your screens as the tech chatters away there for Alonso. A rookie battle here over 7th and 8th, but of course we've got a rookie running riot right at the front of the race.
Yeah, there's going to be back-to-back rookie wins, it looks like, for Spanish legend Jorge Martinez Aspar's Moto2 squad. Danny Holgado, Moreira, well, it's going from bad to worse. He's been given a long lap penalty. Is that for exceeding track limits? Yeah.
Must have been. Well, that might cost him any points whatsoever. Where is he? He's got a second and a half back to Ramirez on the second of the American racing bikes. He should just filter in ahead of Senna Regis, but that's going to cost him another 2 points.
2 to go then here in Catalunya. Holgado 3.4 seconds ahead of Dixon, then has finally found a way through on Munoz. You've got a centre that has been coming for a while. Over the last 5 or 6 laps or so, Dixon has clearly had the superior pace over Munoz. Munoz and Holgado back in the 45s. Behind them, Dixon, Gonzalez, Guevara, Vietti, Lopez, Vaya and Alonso, all faster than your top 2. Nevertheless, it does look like Munoz is going to have plenty in the tank to hold on to what would be a dream podium for the 19-year-old.
I'm not saying that with the same confidence I was a few laps ago. He should be okay with 2 laps to go, but he did lose 0.8 of a second to Gonzalez in 4th place on the last lap. 2.2 seconds is the gap between those. It's down to under 2 seconds already through the first sector. It's down to 1.7 through the third sector. So already on this lap, Munoz has lost half a second to Gonzalez. He'll be very glad this Moto2 race is a 21-lap race and not a 22-lap race.
This has been one of the most commanding, dominant weekends we've seen from anybody in Moto2 so far this season. Danny Holgado saying to David Alonso, well, anything you can do, I can do better. It looks like we're well set for back-to-back wins for the Aspar team. And it's been an exhibition, it's been a masterclass this from Holgado. He drops down through turn 13. 1 corner and 1 lap remaining then for the number 27. All that stands between him and a breakthrough first win in Moto2 now. 14 corners and 4.6 kilometres. Danny Holgado starts the final lap as he looks to be yet another first-time winner in Moto2 in 2025.
Yeah, Munoz lost a second to Gonzalez on that last lap, so he'll just about hang on, I think, to that 3rd place. But as I mentioned, if this race had been 1 lap longer, I think Munoz might have lost that podium to Manu Gonzalez, who has now finally shaken off Ethan Guevara. He's got a yawning chasm behind him, back to the 28 in 4th place. Here is Diogo Moreira serving his long lap penalty, and serious damage being done to his title chances today.
It's a bit of a present day, isn't it, this for Gonzalez, with Canet crashing out of top 10 contention a few laps ago, and now Moreira, well, he was already struggling way down in 13th place. Just was hoping to see through turn 4 just whether Munoz's podium was coming under any great threat from Gonzalez. I think he's going to have this one covered off, Munoz, and I hope so, because his ride has a thoroughly deserved podium finish here today. Talking about richly deserved podiums, it's going to be a richly deserved victory, isn't it, for our race leader, Danny Holgado, who has just simply been, throughout this Barcelona weekend, a cut above the rest.
Fastest on Friday morning, fastest on Saturday morning, pole position, his first official pole in Moto2 yesterday afternoon, and he's about to complete an absolute demolition job in Barcelona. They did not see which way he went, and he's already lapping up the celebrations.
Yeah, Well, you know, they're smiling. There is in the middle of your picture, Jorge Martinez, Aspar, the team manager, Nico Terol as well. One corner remaining then for Danny Holgado, and he's going to be a first-time Moto2 winner here. Over the line he goes. Danny Holgado is the home hero here in Barcelona. He takes his maiden Moto2 victory in dominant fashion. 2.5 seconds ahead of Britain Jake Dixon. It is back-to-back wins for the Aspar team in 2025. Danny Munoz takes a sensational podium. Third for Red Bull KTM, replacing injured Denis Onju. Gonzalez is fourth. He did finally get the better of Guevara. Top 6 for Vietti. Lopez, Alonso, Vaya and Baltasvilla top 10. Dan Alonso from 25th through to 8th. Ortola, Roberts, Ramirez, Moreira and Van der Gorberg were in the point scoring places. Moreira's long lap then dropped him from 13th to 14th. But there is Danny Holgado, who takes the congratulations of Jake Dixon. What a ride, what a weekend by Danny Holgado. I think for many people in Moto2, he's been the surprise package in many respects of the season so far. We've seen in the past so many Moto2 rookies straight out of Moto3 who've found it very, very difficult to make the transition onto the more powerful, more heavier Moto2 bikes. Danny Holgado made that look easy.
A demolition job from Danny Holgado. He won it by 2.5 seconds. He really won it by an absolute mile, because he was celebrating 3 corners before the race even finished. That's how dominant he was today. Aspar's rookie pairing have taken maiden victories in consecutive Grand Prix now. Danny Holgado by a distance.
61st different Moto2 winner in history, and huge congratulations to Danny Munoz, who becomes our 88th different rider on a Moto2 podium. Some performance that by Munoz, taking full advantage of his second row start. Of course, he led for a long part of that Grand Prix. With the Holgado, well, there was a lot of expectation on his shoulders when he arrived here in Montmello today. He was the clear pre-race favourite, and he did not disappoint, did he? He backed up on that last lap. He was showboating already, wasn't he, going through turn 12. That is confidence in the extreme. He was well over 3 seconds clear of Dixon at that point. Took the checker flag, exactly 2.5 seconds clear of the Brit, who makes a welcome return to the podium, his first since his third place from pole in the Saxon Ring.
At times it looked like Danny Holgado could win this race one-handed, so dominant he was. But what a story this is for Danny Munoz. He's a substitute rider. That should be Denis Onju on board that motorcycle after he broke his leg in a training accident during the summer break. He is going to be on the Moto2 grid full-time next season. If that wasn't certain already, it's certainly certain now.
Great scenes here for the Aspar team, as Dan Alonso, our winner in that breathless Balaton Park Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, congratulates his now winning Moto2 colleague, Danny Holgado. He knows how to pick him, doesn't he? Old Jorge Martinez, Aspar. He has got 2 big stars in Moto2 right now, as Holgado pops the celebration wheelie. What a weekend he has had. Just his 5th career Grand Prix victory. He did 4 times previously in Moto3. He was always known in Moto3 as a real fast starter in a World Championship campaign, wasn't he, Holgado, before his sort of form kind of tapered off towards the tail end of championships. But he just seems to be getting better and better, stronger and stronger week by week, doesn't he? Right now, does the 20-year-old? What a performance. Never really looked like he was in any trouble at all, did he, Holgado, in that Grand Prix? And he was, well, what he showed above anything else as well was pace and consistency, but also an ability to deal with the pressure, because I think a lot of people coming to the track this morning, having been so dominant through practice and qualifying, nothing's ever a given, but it did look like he was always going to be the favourite for this Grand Prix, and he's delivered when it mattered most. Danny Holgado, yet another first-time winner in this year's Moto2 World Championship. So many promising.
In quite as dominant a fashion as that. It was never really in any doubt. If it was anyone else, you'd be assuming he was taking it because it's his first Grand Prix win. Part of you was wondering whether he would be able to sustain it. We should never have really doubted him.
You can see there Aspar Moto2 rider Dennis Foggia joining what I'm sure are going to be fairly wild celebrations. There's Foggia. He's a character, isn't he, the Italian? He's won a bunch of races himself in Moto3. And just look what it means to Holgado's side of the Aspar team. That was a top-notch performance by Holgado. Credit as well once again to Jake Dixon. He finds himself on the podium for the 20th time in Moto2. I think that makes Dixon just the 12th rider in Moto2 history to score 20 podiums or more. So he's up there with the very best that have ever ridden in this Intermediate World Championship. And Dani Munoz, absolutely brilliant. We do love an underdog story, don't we? He's in here replacing the injured Denis Onju. And talk about grasping your opportunities with both hands. It's a fairy tale, a dream story for the 19-year-old who's on the podium for the first time. His previous best result in Grand Prix was a 14th at the Red Bull Ring just a few weeks ago. It'll take some topping that result for whatever lies in store in the rest of 2025 for young Munoz.
Yeah, and we already saw extraordinary numbers of riders on the podium. 19 last year at Moto2 finished on the podium. With Dani Munoz now we are up to 15 in 2025 and counting.
Well, there's no doubt who the designated leader of the Holgado fan club is right now. It's Dennis Foggia. I'm sure he's renewed his membership. There is Fermin Aldeguer also coming to join in the congratulations. Jake Dixon also once again offering his congrats to Holgado. It's never easy to win any kind of Grand Prix, but to win it in that fashion was just unreal. Talking of unreal, unbelievable. What a day in the life and career of Dani Munoz. A first-time podium in Moto2, and he's talking to Jack.
Danny, I think that smile is going to be on your face for a very long time. You step in as a replacement rider, and now you're on a Grand Prix podium. Can you believe what you've just achieved?
I don't believe this thing. It's incredible. I don't know how, but I'm here. Thank you to the team for the opportunity. First of all, good recovery for Denis Onju, but I'm very, very happy for stay there. The team yesterday did a very good work and they prepared perfect the bike for the qualifying. Without this if not possible, and incredible. Thank you for my family, for Arroyo, Hector Fobel, for all the team. I don't know, I have no words.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he's not quite sure how he achieved that career first podium. Well, we'll give him a helping hand. It's because he's some rider, he's some talent. What a weekend, what a performance by Dani Munoz, following a career best qualifying yesterday. It is a career first podium, and he did it in style. You just look at the calibre of riders that weren't anywhere near him. World Champions leader Manu Gonzalez almost 1.5 seconds back at the checkered flag. There's Alonso Lopez. He took the checkered flag in 7th place, did Lopez.
Best result since his podium in Austin, Matt.
You can just see how hard it was, how hard he had to work for that 7th place. He's got the leathers open, sweat pouring down the chest of Lopez. He didn't really have anything late on for his Speed RS teammate Celestino Vietti, who despite his transponder woes was able to still take a 6th place. Well, he's won previously here in Montmello. It's another excellent podium for Brit Jake Dixon, who's talking to Jack.
Jake, a brilliant ride back onto the podium. Been such a difficult race to manage. I'm sure you knew early on. But if I'm completely honest, I knew what I had underneath me and I knew what to push and when not to push, and didn't burn his tyre more because he was using so much more front and rear than me, and I was just biding my time, and 2 laps from the end, slipstream into 1 and then just put the hammer down, and yeah, I was luckily able to do that.
just a massive credit to the team from where we have been the last few races. We've had a couple of personnel changes in the team, and I can't thank Marina and Patrick enough to do this. They believe in me a lot, and yeah, hopefully this is just the start of good things to come again.
Great ride, well done.
Thank you very much to all my sponsors. Let's fucking go!
Well, he's obviously very, very happy to be back on the podium. We're apologising because we have to. Just apologies for the choice language there. Let's go to Mazzardo and see if we can repeat it next weekend, shall we? Dixon then in between the two Dannies of Holgado and Munoz. And as he said, credit to his team. They've been sort of turning that Boscascura upside down, moving it left and right to give Dixon some confidence and some feeling. It looked like it came flooding well and truly back here this afternoon, but on a different level, in a race of his own, on pole position yesterday here in Catalunya, and he has destroyed the opposition here in round 15. We're going to be hearing from him very, very shortly. He's going to be delirious, I'm sure. Is our race winner for the first time in Moto2. Let's get the thoughts. What a day, what a weekend for Danny Holgado. He's with Jack.
Danny, what a weekend. The perfect way to win your first Moto2 race in front of your home fans as well. Just how much did you enjoy that?
Yes, fantastic weekend for me. I did an amazing job during the weekend, during the race. I'm very happy with my first Grand Prix win. With my family, my friends. This is amazing for me, the amazing feelings. Very, very happy with the job. Finally, my first win here in Moto2 class. Now with the car, let's see the next weekend, but I need to enjoy this win and this moment.
Huge congratulations.
Absolutely.
Well, first thing's gone wrong all day.
Yeah. Great always, isn't it, to see a first-time winner in any class. Two first times there on your screen. Look at Danny Munoz, he's beside himself, pinching himself. Goosebumps all over his body as he takes an excellent third place. Good day in the championship, that, for Holgado. He's up from 11th in the standings now, into 7th. He's only 4 points behind Celestino Vietti in 6th. Well, we said they know how to pick up, don't they, the Aspar crew. When you look at Max Quiles, the superstar in the making of Moto3, and now back-to-back Moto2 wins for Alonso and Holgado. He knew he had it in the bag because he was showboating with 3 corners left, wasn't he, on the last lap? Yeah, and as Jake Dixon acknowledging there, just too good. A round of applause between Dixon and Holgado. That's Ivan Ortola also just coming to join the celebrations. He had a pretty decent ride himself, did Ortola, up 5 places from 16th to 11th at the checkered flag. Holgado, that's Ivan Ortola's left, wasn't he, on the last lap? Yeah, and as Jake Dixon acknowledging there, just too good. A round of applause between Dixon and Holgado. That's Ivan Ortola also just coming to join the celebrations. He had a pretty decent ride himself, did Ortola, up 5 places from 16th to 11th at the checkered flag.
He's a former teammate of Danny Holgado in Junior GP. They're very, very close. Wanted to be one of the first to congratulate Danny Holgado, but they all had to catch up quite a long way to find him on that celebratory lap. A shrug of the shoulders from Diogo Moreira pretty much sums his day up. 2 points for Moreira today, nothing for Aaron Canet, who of course we hope is okay after his crash at turn 7. That 4th place and 13 points for Mana Gonzalez looks like a big, big result, doesn't it?
It looks like a massive 4th place, doesn't it? One of the most important 4 places potentially of Gonzalez's career so far. Alonso, well, it was always going to be a massive, massive ask for him, coming from 25th place on the grid, but once again he delivered another overtaking masterclass. Did the young Colombian, got himself through to 8th at the checkered flag. He was only a couple of seconds behind Vietti in 6th place. You did wonder whether it might have been a couple of Aspar bikes fighting for the win. Had Alonso not had that 9th place grid penalty, as we get set then for the Moto2 podium celebrations here in Barcelona, led by our Aspar cheerleader, Dennis Foggia.
He can't get enough of this, can he? Absolutely loving this Aspar success story, which has carried on over a couple of Grand Prix weekends now. Danny Munoz, take a long time to wipe the smile off his face. A first Moto2 podium for him. Of course, still not a regular rider on the grid. Jake Dixon back on the podium. It's a first dry rostrum for him since Germany. For Danny Holgado, truly dominant from start, and by start I mean Friday morning, to the finish on Sunday. Becoming the 9th different winner now in 2025. Extraordinary run of races we're having. And if you take a look back through the Grand Prix we've had rather recently, 60 different winners in the last 6 Grand Prix now. Success for the Aspar team. Congratulations to them. Dani Munoz does know this circuit very, very well. Has a very good record in Junior GP, European Moto2, etc. But a Grand Prix podium now to celebrate. And we'll be seeing a lot more of him on a full-time basis in 2026. Whether we see Jake Dixon here full-time next season remains to be seen, but he does celebrate a podium today, his 20th in Moto2. Played the patient waiting game behind Dani Munoz and was rewarded with 2nd place. But as he whips up his team, and particularly his chief cheerleader Dennis Foggia, into a frenzy below the podium, Dani Holgado accepts a winning trophy which looked like it was heading his way from Friday morning. Dominance from Dani Holgado, who takes his first Moto2 win.
No wonder Dani Holgado is wearing one of the biggest smiles in Barcelona right now, because he pops open the race-winning Prosecco and into a Moto2 race for the very first time. He's going to enjoy the celebrations before he's back on track, looking to make it back-to-back victories as we head to the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli next weekend. Holgado, a first-time winner in Moto2. Munoz, first time on the podium. And a big, big day in the championship, you feel, as far as Manu Gonzalez is concerned. He would have been hoping to have rescued a podium from the fourth row of the grid, but a 4th place could be decisive in his championship charge.
Dani Holgado, though, was way out front to take his first Moto2 victory in Barcelona. Jake Dixon, 2nd for him, his best result, as mentioned, since that victory in Austin. Dani Munoz, a fairy tale 3rd. Manu Gonzalez in the championship, though, a significant 4th after winning that brilliant battle with Ethan Cavara, who takes a very impressive 5th. Celestino Vietti and Alonso Lopez, also Bosco-Scorers, of course, 6th and 7th. Alonso, 25th to 8th. Colin Vyatt, who said he'd be happy with the top 10 before the race started. That's exactly what he got ahead of Barry Baltus. Ivan Artoda, 11th from Robert Ramirez. Moreira scores just the 2 points for 14th place. And Aaron Canet, as you can see, didn't even achieve that after he crashed at turn 7. We wish him and Philip Salach, of course, all the very best after their crashes today. So it means this, and the biggest lead that Manu Gonzalez has had all season long. 38 points now clear of Aaron Canet. 42 the difference back to Diogo Moreira. Barry Baltus now just a point ahead of Jake Dixon for 4th place. Vietti 6th, with Dani Holgado climbing 4 places now from 11th up into 7th. Constructors standings, Calex, of course, victorious again, but Bosco-Scorero did take 2nd place the gap to 148 points. Team standings, well, only 6 points scored today from the Fantic team, so their advantage over Intact GP has been cut to 22 points. Aspar, big movers once again after victory today. They're up to 5th. Well, in many respects, the winner of this Moto2 Grand Prix was clear even before the race got underway. Once Dani Holgado, though, converted that lead off the line into an advantage at turn 1, he never looked back. Both of them up with the Esposito Scuros were in the thick of the action early on. Colin Byer also trying to make right, but look at that move from Gonzalez right around the outside of turn 1, 10th up to 3rd. Sach was taken out of the leading action by Aaron Kinnett on the first lap, and he, of course, would later have further problems. That left Danny Munoz to challenge Jake Dixon for 2nd place, and we thought he might be able to take the fight up to Dani Holgado late on. Fortunately for him, Dixon would regain 2nd place in the closing stages. But Dani Holgado was clear at the front. From Friday morning, he had looked the class of the field, and he backed that up with victory on Sunday afternoon. Holgado, your Moto2 winner at the Catalan Grand Prix. MotoGP is on the way next.
With Roman roots and ranked as one of the best cities in the world, Barcelona hosts Chapter 15 of the MotoGP title chase that could be won by Marc Marquez and Rosano next weekend. Montmello is around 30 kilometres from the heart of Barcelona and less than 20 kilometres away from the Mediterranean coast, and it's a track that hosted one of the greatest contests in history in 2009. Does another Catalunya classic lie ahead? It's time to race in MotoGP. 4.66 kilometres, 2.89 miles in length, and this circuit, the Barcelona-Catalunya, poses one of the toughest tests for rider and machine of the season, given the fact that it's very low on grip and very high in tyre wear. 14 turns, 8 right, 6 left, heavy braking zone into that first sector. Turn 3, one of the toughest on the tyres as you head into sector 2. That final sector includes the overtaking hotspot of turn 10, and will there be more late drama at turn 14 after we saw it a few years ago with a certain Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo. Turn 1, 4, 5 and 10 offer the overtaking opportunities around this Barcelona circuit. This was last summer. Marc Marquez on the inside of Jorge Martin into turn 1. Well, having taken his first pole position in 50 Grand Prix, his first since Argentina in 2023, it was all eyes on the 73 of Alex Marquez to see if he could convert that into a sprint success. It was all going to plan, wasn't it, at the front, as further down the field, Frankie Morbidelli cleaned out world champion Jorge Martin. With a 1.5 second lead over brother Mark, though, at turn 10 with 4 laps to go, Alex crashed out of contention. Mark took the checkered flag at first to take his 14th sprint victory in 15 so far in 2025. To boot, it enabled Ducati to wrap up the 2025 Constructor World Championship. And that latest star performance on Sprint Saturdays has moved Marc Marquez to the brink of match point number 1 as he looks to end his 6-year barren run without a Premier Class World title. He comes into our main race day in round 15 of 2025 with a massive 187 point lead in the championship. I'll get it right eventually, over brother Alex, which means if he leaves this Grand Prix with a 185-point lead. He will go to Misano next weekend with a first match points. So Mark cannot lose 3 points or more to Alex in this upcoming 24-lap Grand Prix of Catalonia. If he doesn't, well, he has the chance to lift the World Championship next time out in Misano. A victory this afternoon would put him in the pound seat. He would be win number 99. What a weekend it could be next time out in San Marino for Mark. The planets could be aligned for him to wrap up that 7th MotoGP World Championship. On the same day, he could possibly win his 100th Grand Prix. Let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, shall we? Mark has already sort of doused expectations. He believes that brother Alex is a clear favourite for success in this upcoming Grand Prix, which is going to be a time management battle. Who can manage the grip best towards the latter stages of what promises to be another classic contest here in Catalunya. Some great rides throughout yesterday's sprint, including from the two Fabios, Quartararo and the Gian Antonio, both fighting their way out of Q1 yesterday morning onto the sprint podium. Second for Quartararo. What a performance by the factory Yamaha rider, his best ever sprint finish. Pretty dramatic sprint as well, wasn't it, as we saw Alex crash out of that comfortable lead. We've got penalties for two of our Ducati stars, Franco Morbidelli and Fermin Aldeguer, later on this afternoon, after they both took out the factory Aprilia hopes yesterday. Morbidelli hitting Martin, he's got a long lap penalty. Aldeguer hitting Marco Bezzecchi. The good news for Aprilia fans is both Jorge and Marco are fit for this afternoon's Grand Prix. And Marco Bezzecchi did quickly put the pain and disappointment of his exit in the sprint yesterday behind him. He was the fastest rider in this morning's 10-minute warm-up session. It is all eyes, though, isn't it, really, on the Marquez siblings. They've hogged so many headlines already in 2025, but depending on what happens between the two brothers here in Barcelona this afternoon, the world title could be decided in just 7 days' time. As the sunshine starts to emerge after what's been a largely cloudy race day so far here on the outskirts of the bustling city of Barcelona, one of the greatest cities in the world, of course, a tourist hotspot. Who's going to be hot to trot, though, in the 24-lap race coming your way shortly. Matt Burton, Lewis Sideby in the commentary box with you, as always. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. As mentioned, Lewis, Frankie and Fermin in hot water once again yesterday.
And there wasn't really much of a case of the defence for either, both really entering guilty pleas after these. This was Morbidelli into Martin a lap before the other factory Aprilia rider was taken out. A brief hand of apology there from Frankie Morbidelli and a sarcastic clap from Jorge Martin, who of course has seen his fair share of contact with VR46 Ducatis this season. As Matt mentioned, the best news out of all of that was that both of the riders in each crash emerged from it unscathed, and all four start this Catalan Grand Prix this afternoon. Although Morbidelli and Aldeguer, who you'll see no doubt shortly, the collision that he instigated, each of them will serve long lap penalties in this afternoon's 24-lap race that starts at 2 p.m.
Aldeguer should have served a long lap penalty in the Moto2 race here last May, but didn't so because he crashed on his way into it while he was leading the Moto2 battle here 12 months ago. This was his indiscretion. This is the reason why he's back in the long lap penalty loop once again, under pressure from Luca Marini behind him, trying to find a way through on the inside of Bezzecchi, down the hill, tricky off-camera braking zone into turn 5, locking the front on the dirty inside line. And unfortunately, the innocent victim on his outside was Marco Bezzecchi. There was quite a lot of concern, wasn't there, initially for Bez, expressed, as you can clearly see, by Aldeguer himself. A rather painful blow to his left leg and his left arm. Medical checks, though, on the arm did give Bez the all clear here last night in the Malo paddock. And as we mentioned, he didn't really seem to be too disturbed by it this morning when he led the warm-up session.
So an intriguing Grand Prix ahead of us then. Penalties down the order, and a front row featuring the Marquez brothers, who had conflicting fortunes yesterday in the Tissot sprint. One won it, the other should have won it. Marc Marquez taking the gift that was dropped into his hands by Alex Marquez with his crash at turn 10. So many, of course, in the grandstands here in Barcelona, coming here to see a Marquez victory, whichever of the two it's from. But there are plenty of number 20s in the grandstands too, of course. We're not too far away from Nice, the other side of the border into France, where Fabio Quartararo, who starts second, hails from. But this was Alex Marquez's crash, where perhaps he was just beginning to think about actually taking that sprint win, overconfidence getting the better of him, and he paid the ultimate price.
Oh, livid. They couldn't quite believe it, could they? Inside the Gresini Racing garage, Alex didn't get away with it, Mark did. This was post-Alex crash in that 12-lap sprint yesterday. How many times down the years have we seen the maestro of the saves in MotoGP pull off yet another spectacular one? That was at turn 7 when he was well clear of Quartararo in second place. Mark got away with that one, and he was able to add another 12 points to his collection, which has moved him on to 467 points. Just an astonishing campaign. He has now won 24 of 29 races so far this year. 8 successive sprint wins, half the job done to 8 successive double wins, which he knows. The maths are pretty simple. A victory here this afternoon for Mark, and it will be match point numero uno going to Misano next time out.
Yeah, it's a matter of when rather than if, isn't it? Marc Marquez wins the championship, and it was notable that he said before the weekend started that he didn't want to win the championship necessarily at Misano, because to do that he would have to have seen something go pretty spectacularly wrong for his brother. Sadly though, from Alex's point of view, that's exactly what happened yesterday, as he threw away 12 points. Elsewhere, there was plenty of entertainment, and a lot of it was being provided by the KTM trio.
This was not a Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup race, was it, as a lot of people thought it looked like, as it was the beast, Bastianini, locking horns with Pedro Acosta and Brad Binder. Some scrap this, wasn't it, for 4th place in that sprint. It eventually did go the way, not by much, by a whisker, in favour of Pedro Acosta. Bastianini eventually taking the checkered flag in 5th. It was a fight that had us on the edge of our seats pretty much throughout the entirety of that sprint yesterday. I think Acosta probably the most disappointed of that trio. We felt going into the sprint yesterday afternoon that potentially he was going to offer a pretty big threat to the Marquez brothers, particularly Alex, who had the clear superior pace going into the sprint yesterday. Never really materialised. So he never really felt like he had the same grip on the soft rear tyre that he had throughout the course of the weekend. Acosta, nevertheless, a solid 4th place.
Yeah, solid if unspectacular for Pedro Acosta, and yeah, he's not coming here today for a solid result. He wants to give the Marquez brothers a bit of company, but it is Alex that comes into this Grand Prix Sunday, to many as the pre-race favourite, even allowing for what happened yesterday. Certainly it was clear he was the fastest, even if ultimately he wasn't first across the finish line. That was this man, Marc Marquez. Can Marc Marquez force Alex into another error today?
15, yes, 15 consecutive victories now for the number 93. He's just signing a few autographs here, a few fans. What a moment it is for those people as they just gathered himself, now heads back into the factory, the Ducati garage. It has been a dream, it's been a fairy tale first season in red, hasn't it, for Mark? That 14th sprint win yesterday did ensure once again for the 6th season in a row Ducati win the Constructor Championship. That has never really been under any kind of serious threat, as you once again just have to doff your cap to the sheer brilliance of the engineering group led by G. Delinia at Borgo Panigale on the outskirts of Bologna in Italy. Perhaps proving the toughest competition, perhaps the biggest menace to the Marquez brothers this afternoon could be Fabio Quartararo, who embraces all of his Yamaha crew, including test rider Andrea Dovizioso. Somewhere at the back of that Yamaha garage is a nice shiny new V4 engine, which Fabio will test here in Barcelona tomorrow. More pressing matters ahead though. How do you stop the Marquez brothers from dominating here in Barcelona? Once again, though, Lewis, Quartararo's second place in that sprint just showed what a phenomenally gifted talent he is.
Picking up Yamaha on his back and carrying them around the circuit. It felt like Jorge Martin, this was earlier on this morning, enjoying a cool moment with our marshals here in Barcelona. A corner that he has really made his own because of moments like this on a motorcycle as he now replicates it on foot. 30 million of you have watched that on social media.
Go on, Jorge, give us a smile in the top left-hand corner of your screens. Poetry in motion, a work of art, as he takes the shine off the red and white paint on the inside of the curve at turn 5. Yeah, there he goes. He was loving that moment himself, wasn't he? Going through that turn 5. That was on the rider parade this morning. He jumped off the truck and posed with the marshals. A great moment for our volunteer workers, who, of course, this show would not happen without their support all around the world. Yeah, and there's just a timely reminder. The Martinator is still our MotoGP world champion. Probably not for too much longer, unfortunately, after his injury-ravaged first season with Aprilia, but happier memories certainly on our most recent visit to this magnificent Montmello circuit, because of course it was right here in mid-November last year where Jorge celebrated the greatest day of his life when he was crowned our 2024 MotoGP world champ.
No one can ever take that away from him, even if he perhaps going to have to replace the number 1. Well, he certainly is going to replace the number 1 with an 89 next season, as the World Championship crown looks set to be passed over to Marc Marquez potentially in the next 7 days. We'll find out over 24 laps today whether his first match point will come next weekend. Of course, Pecco Bagnaia came here last in November with a chance to become a 3-time MotoGP world champion. Of course, he fell short despite victory in the final Grand Prix of last season. He hasn't had a sniff of that kind of result this time.
Forza Pecco. Yeah, he's not going to take this line down. Words of encouragement, and boy does he need them right now. Pecco Bagnaia has not had an awful lot to smile about over the last couple of races. Not a great deal to smile about throughout 2025, where, let's be frank, he's been outclassed at times by his teammate Marc Marquez, a rider who, of course, took both Grand Prix victories here in Catalunya last year. Well, Yamaha once again relying on the pure brilliance of Fabio Quartararo as their star performer in yesterday's sprint. He starts on the front row of the grid, looking to pick a fight with Alex and Mark once again this afternoon. Let's get the pre-race thoughts of the boss, Mario Meregali, who's for Jack.
Yeah, it felt like a very timely result yesterday for Fabio. He said afterwards, I needed that as much for myself as well for the team after the difficulties of both Austria and Hungary. How much of a boost was that result yesterday?
Yeah, it has been a really big boost. We started not well Friday morning, but then in the afternoon he started seeing that there were the circumstances to do well, and he was really mad when he catch the 2 yellow flag, because yeah, he said that I feel I had 3/10 in the pocket. And yesterday morning, anyway, he showed what he said, and from that moment, I think and the speed, the consistency, I couldn't expect to start from the first row. I thought that the second was already a good achievement. Then for the race, has been really another very nice surprise, because you know, it was hot. We thought about the drop of the tire, but overall, yeah, yesterday did really work well, and now for today it's very difficult to have an overview, because foreseen for anything, because there are many factors, as you know, that can address the results of the race. Today is more humid. We are using the medium tire. So, you know, more temperature, less grip. Medium tire for sure, less grip. These circumstances are never good for us. But we got some good feedbacks also from this morning warm-up. So I don't want to say anything, but I think that everything can happen.
Obviously, there's the small matter of today's race to come, but tomorrow is going to be a huge day as well. How vital do you think it is that Fabio goes into that massive day, trying the V4 for the first time, with a smile on his face, given the performances yesterday, and knowing that he's riding right at the top level at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, it's going to be an important test. You know that anyway it's a private test, and we are not used to say anything, but to jump on this bike for the first time after for me a really good weekend, it's very important.
Just finally, I saw yesterday, did the sprint with the new swing arm that Miguel has been using for a while. How much, if any, of a step in performance do you think that's offered, Fabio?
Yeah, it's very difficult to say. Let's say that I didn't feel anything worse, and we knew that theoretically on the numbers this swing arm should be better, and since the moment that we start using he was performing well. I didn't feel any negative points. We decided to go.
Thanks, Mayo. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to factory Yamaha boss Mayo Meregali. Yeah, Jack pointed to it would be good, a real boost, a real tonic for Quartararo to jump on that V4 fresh off the back of what he hopes will be a double podium here in Barcelona. Packed grandstands here as the home crowd, well, they're almost demanding, aren't they? Marco, Alex take the spoils in this upcoming Grand Prix. 7 previous Premier Class appearances here in Barcelona for Alex. He scored points in all 7 of them. Never had on the podium though here in the top class. He was fastest in the test here last November when he first jumped on the Ducati GP24. This is interesting news. This could change, of course, it so often does, but Pedro Acosta, he did a lot of work on Friday, 16, 17, 18 lap run on a soft rear tyre, and felt like he could make it work over the full race distance of 24 laps here this afternoon. Well, our information, as you can see on the screens, is Acosta will certainly be coming to the grid. He's starting his sighting lap with the medium front, soft rear tyre.
Yeah, we're expecting the majority pick to be the medium rear, just because it is such a punishing circuit on tyres, and some already recognised yesterday in the sprint over half the distance that they were starting to run out of grip with the soft rear towards the end of the race. There is your Michelin tyre allocation, of course, asymmetric rear tyre compounds with the harder compound on the right, because there are so many punishing long right-handers here through turn 3, turn 9, turn 13 and turn 14, where the tyres take such a hammering. But Pedro Acosta, as you mentioned, not only putting in so many laps on that soft rear on Friday, where he looked particularly good, but given, of course, what he's come here to try and achieve this weekend, you can totally understand him taking the aggressive option.
Such a favourite stopover, isn't it, this circuit, the Barcelona-Catalunya first on the Grand Prix calendar back in 1992, known then as the Grand Prix of Europe until 1995. First Catalan Grand Prix took place here in 1996. And as mentioned, it's been the scene of some of the most epic battles, the biggest last lap thrillers we've ever had in Grand Prix racing. The 93 fans, well, there's been doing some brisk business at the 93 merchandise stalls here this weekend. A lot of the grandstands, including Mark's own dedicated We Are 93 posse on the outside of turn 12, showing their allegiance in bright red. It's right here on the outside of 12 where Mark's got his own dedicated grandstand. And they come here, not in hope, in expectation almost that he's going to take another gigantic leap towards glory in this year's championship.
Yeah, the bare numbers just don't really tell the story, Marc Marquez, but we'll give you some of them anyway. 10 Sunday victories were now added to 14 sprint wins out of a possible 15, so he could today take his 25th win of 2025, and of course he's still going to have another 14 opportunities in the 7 Grand Prix that remain after this one to add to that